started.
Oh, straw legs. Okay, we'll try d4 again. Had a short game. Unfortunately, the recording didn't work out. Let's transpose into a French defense if he wants to. Yeah, this is not a French. Don't know what that is. I didn't want to block in my c-pawn by playing knight to c3 just yet. Okay, so now it's a French defense where he's got his knight here, I have my bishop here, and I haven't played knight c3. Let's go ahead and push. See where he's going with that knight. And we can play this like a classical French. You can gain a tempo on the bishop by playing c4 there, or I can add to pressure on my d-pawn. Now, do I want to play my knight to c3? If so, I might want to play the move a3 to stop him from kicking that knight immediately. But I could just ignore all of that, castle, and then play the move pawn to c3 instead. If he pushes, see if he pushes b4, b5 to b4. Okay, I'm going to develop my knight to d2 here. And then maybe I'll play b3. Oh, he's charging ahead first, so okay. If he wants to do that. I'm thinking of playing knight to g5, and he can of course exchange it, but I can defend it with the bishop. But maybe I want to set it up by moving my queen to this square first. Knight g5 followed by queen to I see. So he's defending, well, he's attacking my bishop indirectly. So that when he pushes the pawn c3, it'll be a double attack on the knight and the bishop. So I can't just move my queen here. I have to make sure that bishop stays defended. Still, knight g5 looks like an idea. Okay, so can I get away with taking? Knight takes f7. So knight takes f7, king takes. Bishop here, check. And then he can interpose with a pawn. Or I could play queen to h4 here. And if he takes, I take the rook. If he takes with the bishop, I take with the pawn. And if he pushes here, I take his bishop. He takes my knight. And then I come back to defend against getting the queen, against the pawn becoming a queen. Okay, just castles. So, that's a bit awkward. Yeah, I really needed to have my bishop on this diagonal. Let's see. So is there something I can do with check? The problem is my knight is pinned here. And if I unpin it, he can take with the pawn. I can take this pawn over here, attacking my queen. He takes, attacking his queen. So I take a pawn, he takes queen, I take the queen, he takes my knight. And then, I don't know if there's anything, and then the queens are off. It's kind of ugly. Let's back up. Now let's see, if I back up to g3, he takes, I take, bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes. So I want to defend that. I want to defend the knight and at least win a pawn there. And I still have, if he pushes, I can still take the bishop. But it does simplify things a bit. Getting rid of material is probably good for him at this point. So he can take my bishop, he can take my knight, or he can take a pawn. Any of those are good. If he pawn takes, I play rook to b1. If pawn takes knight, I retreat the bishop. If a rook takes, then let's see, I can take this pawn first so that he doesn't have a protected passed pawn there, and then I can play my knight to here. So what's this? The knight's hitting that pawn. And I should probably defend it. He may be threatening to come into some of these squares. So now I can hit his knight here. I can take the knight because of if he doesn't have a check here or something, this should be okay too. So I've got two pawns. Two pawns for the... oh, I had two pawns for the piece. But I was going to say they were pretty feeble pawns, so no insufficient compensation, most definitely. Now, do I want to take the rook right away? Brings his bishop forward. But he's going to take my rook with check, and he's also threatening my knight, so I think I have to take. Now he's got a couple of loose pieces here. And if I could move my bishop with tempo. It's funny, everywhere that bishop goes. Okay, my idea is to play bishop to g4 here and try and get a tempo on his knight. Bishop g5. Yes, the queen has to move, and the queen doesn't have a square that defends the knight. And it doesn't have a square that attacks the bishop. And when I take the knight, I'm protecting my knight and my rook. So I think I get my piece back here. And he gets his pawn back. And we got an even game after all of that. Well, what do you know? Yeah, well, that was luck. Yeah, his pieces were a bit disorganized, I suppose. Now, that's a decent spot for the bishop. I can play h4 and just support the bishop there. And then think about what I want to do with the knight and rook. So knight, rook, bishop, and queen. And 4 pawns apiece. Interesting assortment of stuff going on here. The pawns are all on one side of the board, and his are maybe slightly better, a little more compact. But mine are not too bad. This is technically a bad bishop because these pawns are on the same color. But let's see. His knight is preventing my knight from developing. Where ideally my knight should go to this square here, right? So I need to get to that square. And I can only get there from here. So how about this way? Knight here, here, to here, to there, to there. It's a roundabout maneuver. Let's see. If he wants to get the bishops off, that is okay with me. Don't want him messing up the pawns, however. So now, knight here, 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 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a long-winded knight maneuver. But that's a good square for the knight. Okay, and he's got a good square for his knight, which is right there. So that's a problem. If I start my knight maneuver now, okay, if I take his bishop, queen takes, and his rook is loose. If I play my rook to the 7th rank here, I'm threatening his bishop. And then if he takes my bishop, I bring the queen in. And we're coordinating on g7. That's not too shabby. But he can defend. There's rook d7, e7 as well as g7 and being threatened, so he probably has to play rook to f7. Okay, now if I take the rook and queen takes, then I check here, wins the knight. But if I take the rook and king takes, there's a check here. I should still probably do it. If king takes, yeah, he didn't see that.
Check.
So you gotta stay alert for those tactics all the time.
Black resigns.
So, okay, that was an interesting game. Good example of fighting back. I will do a post-mortem as usual, and I will upload this one and see you guys later. Bye.